See you this morning. We are very light this morning, you'll notice. We have a large contingent of folks down at Richland for LTC, which is wonderful. We have that many people involved in that program, that ministry. So we look forward to seeing them get back later this afternoon. But for this morning, we are I have Chad Lewis with us. I'll give you a little bit of information on Chad. He's going to be standing in for our class this morning and for the sermon later on. But once again, we are very happy to have him with us this morning. He has worked as a minister in youth ministry and children's homes in Arkansas and upstate New York. He hails from Georgia. And also he does have his wife Shelley and daughter Lily here with him today, so we look forward to spending some time with them and getting to talk with them. Chad started with us around the 1st of December, I believe it was, at Delano as the caretaker, so we're very excited to have him and his family involved in the work of the youth in this area, and moving forward from that, just to benefit from his knowledge and the things that he's done in ministry. So if you will, let's give him some time and think on the things that he has to bring to us.
Hello? Hello? I don't think I'm on yet. Am I on yet? There we go. Good? Good morning. As Kenny said, I am Chad Lewis, and I've been in mission all over the United States. I was a youth minister in New Mexico. I was a pulpit minister in upstate New York, in Oswego. I did children's homes in Mississippi and in Georgia, and we moved here from Bentonville. My parents lived there, and during COVID, he needed some help at his home, so I went and did some work with him for like a year. But I love camp. Even with all those missions that I did, whether I was a youth minister or a pulpit minister or a house parent, always camp. I grew up going to camps. I was one of those kids that my parents kicked me out of the house for the summer and said, go to camp. So I was at camp all summer long. On the East Coast, they have camps that last longer than a week. So you can go for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. So I'd take 2 big things of luggage and be gone for 6 weeks to camp. And so when we decided to get back into ministry, we saw that this popped up. And once again, the Lord kind of gave us that light bulb to go somewhere, that calling. As you can see, I need an editor because Kenny pointed out I misspelled Christian when I was making my slide. But I am the new caretaker at Delano, and I like to think of it as I am a missionary first, I'm a caretaker second. Yes, there are facilities, and yes, there's a lot of work to do with the facilities. But first and foremost is the mission. And I think I have to motion for my slides. Yeah. And our mission at Delano is we exist to encounter the good news about Jesus the Christ to further his kingdom. Now, that's a very simple mission statement, but with that simple mission statement involves a whole lot. And that is foremost what we're there to do. Yes, I have a history with kids, and yes, I have a history with construction. I was a master plumber in Georgia at one point. But ultimately, this is why me and my wife and my daughter Lily moved to the Pacific Northwest, was for this mission. And that is part of the Great Commission. You can go ahead and move it. I know y'all have a vibrant and glorious history with Delano here at Lakeview, and I'm excited to be here to discuss it. And I want you to ask questions, so we're going to kind of go over points, since today is Mission Sunday. I want to kind of bring y'all up to date with what Delano is and where it's going, and then just kind of talk about things. And any questions you have, I want to answer, so you feel that you are part of the mission that is happening there as well. The first thing is our assets. When me and Don started coming up with these points, we wanted to talk about our assets at Delano. And the one of the big things is our board of directors. Our board is comprised of people that are passionate about Delano. They come from all walks of life. Y'all know Don. You know, he is kind of the spiritual liaison to the board and to the elders here at Lakeview. Our board chair is Thomas Morse. He's one of the ministers at Springbrook. And then we have people that are ex-military that are in nuclear medicine, and we have people that teach at the community college, ranger school, and all sorts of things. We recently had one of our board members pass away. His name was Brian Erickson, and he was a master electrician from the Olympia congregation, and he recently passed away. He had a heart attack. And that was like a big blow, not only to, of course, his congregation and his family, but to us as well at Delano for all the work that he did. He did tons of work out at Delano. He was a very quiet, kind of silent worker. He had that silent faith that he showed his light with his work there at Delano. But part of our asset is a board of directors that is passionate about the mission. We always have a Devo when we start a meeting. You know, we want to make sure that every decision is God-led with God's wisdom and includes the mission. If it doesn't further that mission, then there's no purpose for it. We, of course, at Delano, we have huge support from the Lakeview elders. Ultimately, we kind of come through Lakeview. I mean, I talk with Peggy a lot. Y'all probably know Peggy. I talk with her all the time. So we're tied together, Delano and Lakeview. It is your mission, and I want you to feel that it's part of your mission and how you can be involved and how you can know about it. This summer, what's really exciting is, as long as we have camp, keep praying, please, that we have camp. I'll get to discussing our lodge situation here in a minute. But if everything goes well and we have summer camp, we get to bring in some outside counselors from AIM or SIBI, kind of like older college students that are wanting to do missionary work as a life. And so we're bringing them in to be counselors, as well as from Oklahoma Christian. They're going to be flying up and being part of our counselor team for some of our summer sessions, which is really exciting to be bringing in mature Christians that are wanting to be in the mission field that have chosen Delano to be part of their internship to further understand what it's like in the mission field and working with kids. Another asset, according to Don, is the caretakers. We have a 4-year contract, and hopefully we want to make it a lot longer. As I've said, we've bounced around this country a lot, but we want to make this permanent. We want to be here as long as we can. You know, we'll start with a 4-year contract, but ultimately we want to put roots in. I really love it at Delano, if you've ever been out there. I always say it's like living in an Ansel Adams painting. It's just beautiful. And one thing I enjoy about my job as a missionary there is a lot of my skills and a lot of my wife's skills get to be used. Anytime God can use so much of your facilities in a mission, it's just a wonderful feeling to be out there. Another asset that we have is we have 1,500 plus contacts between Facebook, our email, and Instagram, and our website. Like we posted if you know the big giant cottonwood that's in the kind of the middle of the field, recently it got cut down. It was rotting out from the inside and was kind of becoming dangerous. And so we filmed it coming down, and we were surprised by the amount of response that we got back. Like how many people, within a day, it said, you know, reach 656 people. Like that's a lot of people that you can reach with a simple post. So that's an asset to us at Delano, is that we can reach so many people so quickly, which is a great thing. Another asset is we bring business prowess and modernization. That's part of the skills that me and Shelly bring. Shelly has a big background in business modernization, onboarding people. She's a remote worker, so she still works, but she works from home. So she's right there at camp with me. Sometimes she'll answer the phone while I'm out mowing or working on a project. But one of the things that we're kind of bringing, has anyone in here rented at Delano ever? Okay, so when you rent at Delano, the process currently is you download a form, you print this form out, you fill it out, you either have to scan it, mail it in, you mail it in with a check, that's your deposit, it gets approved, and then I can put you on the calendar, and then after you rent, you send another check, and then you have to send your deposit check back, and it's a long process if you've ever gone through that. One of the things that we're going to be rolling out here soon is you're just going to fill it out online and pay online. And then when you get your deposit back, it happens the next day. And that's one of the things that Shelley has been able to work in. Because we went that way already for the last couple years with our camp registration. So the foundation was already there. So now we're going to be implementing that with our rentals. And I think part of not being able to use it to its full capacity for the cabins and the lodge as a retreat and rental space is that it's a difficult process. In this day and age, people don't want difficult processes. They want it to be as simple as it can be. And so that's one of the things that we're bringing is modernization and simplifying processes, making it to where it's easy to rent. You know, if the purpose of going to Delano is to get respite, is to get relaxation, it should not be a difficult process to get relaxation. It should be easy. And we want to make it easy for everybody, as well as coming in with a business mindset as well in the decisions that happen at camp. You know, yes, it's a camp during those 4 or 5 weeks in the summer, but the rest of the time, it can be rented. We're a year-round facility. So how do we get its use more? I recently did the yearly audit, and we served last year, which I know in the last couple of years we've had issues because of COVID. We served about 520 people last year in total over a period of 86 days. That's 3 months. Now, yeah, that includes the camp season. It's pretty much the camp season. So part of our plan is how do we get more than 90 days use? How do we move that as we move further into 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 12 months of use, to where we're having to deny people like, sorry, that month is full. Sorry, that month's full. And people are wanting to book years in advance so they can get the week that they want. That's where we kind of see it going. Because the property, if you've ever been there, is untouchable. It is beautiful. It is undeniably a gift from God and the Granbergs and everything. And so it needs to be used year-round. And we want it to be used year-round. And not just from a business stance, but to fulfill that mission. You know, when we wake up every day, one of the first things I think is okay, I'm to be like Christ. What would Christ do today at this camp to further the mission? How do I further Christ's mission every day? And so part of that is getting it to where it's more used, that we're serving more people. We hold more retreats, more men's retreats, more women's retreats, more youth retreats. One of the big things I think y'all know, I know Lakeview is looking for a youth minister right now, if I'm correct. There are currently, because Brad has recently stepped down from his position, there are no youth ministers in the Pacific Northwest right now for Churches of Christ. There's none. Not one. There's still youth though, right? Still lots of youth. One of the things we want to fulfill in that time is Delano can be that point that is able to bring the youth together and to be a place where they can get what they need in this time between youth ministers. And as soon as Lakeview gets a youth minister, I'm going to be meeting with him that moment going, Delano is here for you. How are we going to use it? And not just for this church, but to rally all of the youth of the Pacific Northwest. So some of our challenges that we're getting to. Area churches are getting smaller. COVID really affected churches. In fact, COVID affected churches so much that's why I left New York. My congregation in New York was very small. Most everyone was over 75. And when COVID hit, I had people that didn't have internet. I couldn't stream. It was a very difficult process, and I didn't want to just collect a paycheck during COVID. So area churches are getting smaller, and that's a challenge that we have to kind of combat. Also, I was talked about no youth ministers in the Pacific Northwest. One of the challenges is staffing camps with mature Christians. Sometimes you get a lot of people that want to come to be counselors so they can hang out with their friends. It's admirable. I'm glad you want to come and be with your friends that are maybe a year or two younger than you. But counselors have to be counselors. I mean, we know of the counselor that was sent to us, right? That counselor does a job. And that's what we really have to be getting is mature Christians in those positions to be counselors for the kids that are at camp. And that's difficult. As the churches shrink, it's harder to find people willing to do the work. I was looking at the Sojourners mission up there, and their scripture they have is, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Same is for Delano. The same is right now for the Pacific Northwest, it seems like. And so that's something that we are really challenged. But we do have those other kids coming in from the outside. Some are from Oregon and some are from Oklahoma Christian. Doctrinal concerns. We know that in the last couple years, some doctrine concerns have come up at camp. I know some of the details, but I know a lot of the parents were concerned with what doctrine was being taught at camps. Because we don't have, at least in the past, each camp was led by a different director. And you really didn't know what that director would be saying or what that director would be doing. So we're putting in some things that can help change that. Part of the reason I think that they brought me and wanted me to come is I have a minister background. Very conservative minister background for sure. And I've already had discussions with people that are wanting to work at my camp about things that happen that I've already put my foot down and said, that's not going to happen at camp. I'm also the new STS camp director, which is big because I'm a director, but I'm also the caretaker. So I'm right there. The mission is very clear to me about what it needs to be. And those concerns are being addressed. We talk about them often, and we are making sure that truth in Scripture is what's going to be taught moving forward. And if it isn't, we're going to quickly remove those individuals because the last thing that kids need right now is false teaching. They're getting enough of that out there. They need truth. Over the last couple of years, because of COVID, we've had lower attendance at our summer camps, big time. We've about cut in half. That's the number. We went from about 80 or 90 per camp to about 45 per camp. Some are aging out, as I think you might have seen in your own congregation, but still, we know that in the Pacific Northwest, there's 96 kids per week we can be serving. They're out there. They may be at our churches that we attend in the Churches of Christ, but they also may simply be in our areas. They're there. We need to get them there so that truth can be taught to them. Now, probably some of the big challenges that we've had over the last 10 months, if you've heard, is some vandalism happened at our lodge, and our lodge was flooded. Some vandals came in, they broke in, they plugged up the upstairs sinks. We don't know if it was someone mad at the camp. We don't know if it was a TikTok challenge. We don't know exactly what it was, but it happened, and it flooded the entire lodge. And if you've ever been to Delano, it's hard for people that have lived with Delano for so long to come see the lodge right now because it's completely gutted, like down to the studs, gutted. And then, of course, because we're a Christian organization, we're having permit issues. Big-time permanent issues that we have to deal with the county. And so right now, we're still praying that we're going to have camp this summer to try to get this lodge up and going, but we're having issues getting our lodge up and going. And then our seaside cabins. I have a picture here. As you can see, Sea Breeze is a little underwater. I should have shown Fur at this time because Fur was underwater. It got completely flooded. A king tide happened the same day as the tsunami. And while it wasn't like a big wave like you see in a movie, it just went like this and never stopped and just kept going. And the water went all the way up and into the field and back out, and then that's all it needed. So Fur got about 2 feet of water flooded into it, which pretty much wrecks it. We're doing great with flooding this year. It's just a year of water. So yeah, we have issues with the cabins. If you've ever been part of Delano for the last probably 5-10 years, you know that there's this issue of how do you work on the seaside cabins? There's a lot of red tape that goes into work on the seaside cabins. Technically, they need to be raised anywhere from 3 to 6 feet. But how do you do that? Because they don't want you to work on them. You know, it's this whole give and take. And so what do we do with our cabins that are down on the seaside? How do we upgrade them? How do we get them to a point to where people want to rent them? So that's one of the challenges that we have. Of course, we have inflation in the economy right now. It's hard for people now to squirrel away some money to go get some respite. That's an issue. We're not exactly close for a lot of people. And so there's, of course, the drive out there. So the inflation in the economy is an issue. And with that is, if you have 6 kids or 3 kids or 5 kids, it's a lot of money for camp. It's a lot of money for parents to be able to put together to send their kids to camp for 1 week. If you were going to go to an STS camp and you had 2 teenagers, that's like $700. It's a lot of money for a family right now. And so those are some of our challenges, is how do we serve at the same time as make it available to everyone that wants to be there and wants to go. Another challenge, I've talked about our permit issue, is the state, technically I guess our county, Pierce County's view of Delano. In 2016, we had a stop work order that happened on the Maple cabin. You think that's a long time ago. But you could pull up our parcel right now online and you see that as a red flag. It doesn't go away, ever. And so there's been a lot of issues with how the Department of Health views us, how city planning views us, and how Pierce County views us. And like every year, we have to do what's called the large on-site septic service. And that's what LOS stands for. And we pay pennies, I think it's like 4 or 5 cents per gallon that we use. So imagine what the flooding did. We had to pay for that, even though it never went to the septic system. We pay for it. And so these are all kind of challenges that we deal with. We're in a floodplain. We're also in an animal reserve. I don't know if you knew that, but there's like, I think there's 27 protected species on Delano property. 27! From every critter that I cannot name in the tidelands, because I don't know this terrain well enough, to owls and eagles and otters and seals and sea lions. And we get them all. And we've only been there for 6 months, and we've seen them all. If you go out at about 2 in the morning, I have a little puppy right now that's designed for geese chasing, so we have to take her out at night. At 2 in the morning, you hear the orcas in the bay. We learned this thing about a bait ball. I don't know if you've ever heard of bait ball. A bait ball is when the seals surround a school of fish, and all day they feed off of them. So there's like 50 to 100 seals in the bay feeding off fish. It's beautiful. But that's a challenge because it's part of their home. So anytime you do anything on camp, you have to get biologists, you have to get naturists, you have to get arborists, you have to get all these people to approve of what you're doing because it's a protected area, which is beautiful that it's protected. And when you come out, if you've ever been there, you've seen the bald eagles. They're there. But because they're there, you have to go through a lot of channels to get work done. And so it's kind of a balance. What's my time? I don't have a clock. I have 5 minutes? Oh my goodness. 20 minutes. Oh, that's much better. You can go to the next one. So there's challenges with the property. It's beautiful, but it has challenges. So our vision. We're currently in that phase where we're looking 5-10 years down the line. And with the lodge, when the lodge gets done, I really hope we're going to have a big kind of event to bring everyone out because it's going to be beautiful. Because we have to bring it all up to code, we're making it nice. It's going to be gorgeous, and it's going to be really set up for retreat use. We're going to have PA systems. We're going to have Don donated a 90-inch television. Have you ever seen a 90-inch television? It's like a movie theater. It's crazy. But he donated that. Instead of having a projector, we're going to have this 90-inch television in the worship area. And it's all tied, it's going to be tied in just like this system. And so it's really going to enable to do speakers, retreats. That's part of the vision that we want to have. We also want to reach out to the local area congregations on the Key Peninsula for them to do events at. Our vision is, what are we going to do with the seaside cabins? That's probably been the question for the last 20 years. What are we going to do with them? You know, and so that's part of this. What is the future? What are we going to be doing with those cabins? But part of our vision is also to be a light in the local community. Delano has 2 reputations right now in the Key Pen. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all are part of this mission. R2 is this. Please leave us alone. We're our camp. Don't come here. Or, who are you? They don't even know who we are. They don't know we exist. That is our current reputation on the Key Pen, the locals in the Long Branch, Lake Bay, Key Center area. That's not good. You don't get any help with your local people about anything. If your reputation is leave us alone or who are you? And so we're ingraining into the community. Like I said, we want to be long-term. We're not locals. You know, Charlotte and Greg, they did an amazing job as the last caretakers. But they lived in Port Orchard. That's where their home was. So they were never going to ingrain in the Lake Bay community because they lived in Port Orchard. We live at Lake Bay now. That is our home. You know, if something happens and we have to leave Lake Bay, we're not staying in Lake Bay. That's where we live. And so living there, we're trying to get more ingrained in the community and really be a light out there on the Key Pen. Every day we see cars that were stolen that are burned and abandoned. You just have to drive down to the Key Pen, you see it. We see the tweakers, we see the walkers, and I know y'all have all that here as well. But we've got to be a light there as well. We want more events. We want to do so much more. The good thing about us coming in is we don't have what I like to call emotional goggles. We don't have 20 years of experience at Lake Bay, so we don't see it as it's been. We come in with new, fresh ideas. Month of December, no one ever rents, right? It's like, I looked at the books, like no one ever rents in the month of December. Why not? Why are our cabins not dressed up for Christmas? Why do we not have a walk through Bethlehem? Why are we not doing things that want to bring the community and bring people to Lake Bay often? Not just it opens for summer camp and then shuts down and then some people rent here and there. We need a concise idea of what we're doing and more events, especially since there's a lack of youth leadership. We need to be that leadership and have a place for the youth to come. So that's the last of my slides. And now I just kind of open it up to questions about anything that's happening. Feel free. I'm an open book. I feel y'all are just as part of this mission as I am and everything else.
Are you giving an opportunity to have this discussion with other congregations?
No, I have not. This is the first I've done like a Delano discussion. With a preaching background, the board said, this is amazing, you can go preach. In your first year, we want you to go establish relationship because the relationship has not been established in a long time. So go offer yourself in service to the congregations. And so I've been calling the ministers and say, hey, if you need a break or if you're going on vacation or you have a conference like Brent's at, and I say, I can come fill in for you. It's a service Delano wants to do. And so the first year plan of me going is to just reach out, develop those relationships again that have kind of been dormant, and then do these discussions. I got lucky with this being a Mission Sunday, and Brent said, yes, talk about Delano during class. So this is exciting that I get to do this. But I do think ultimately every congregation needs to be part of this and hear this. That's right. And I'm sure, like most conferences, you know, there's the people with their trifold sitting at a booth and they talk about their stuff. That's what we want to be able to do as well in like the off season. So during off season, I can go to big youth events and big conferences and try to get Delano out there. But that's a good question. That's a great suggestion. Shelly, can you write that down? Faith builders. See, this is things that I don't know. I don't know the area enough. That's perfect. That's exactly what Delano needs to be.
Normally, you can set up a booth that talks about what your particular ministry is, and you might be able to talk to Ken Wilson or some of the staff about maybe getting a chance to speak one session or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Shelly's my admin person, if y'all haven't guessed that. She's. Right now, it's not the insurance is covering the cost. Right now, the issue is the county. I mean, honestly, I think it's like a $2.75 million property is what it's assessed at. It's non-for-profit. They don't get a dime. They hate that. They absolutely hate that. It's waterfront property on the key pen. And so when issues happen, they want to bog us down. You know, we have not a good history when it comes to permits. The whole area doesn't. And I think Lakeview's dealt with some issues with permits because of things at Delano, because we're tied together. One of the things that they've brought me in is because of my plumbing background and pulling permits and all that, is I have contacted them and said, hi, I'm new. I know there's issues in the past. I want to rectify everything. I want to give us a nice, clean bill of health, and we'll get through this lodge, and then as we move forward, we're going to do it to the letter of the T every time. We're going to go above and beyond whatever you want. And so it's politics. And it's also contractor speak, and not a lot of people know contractor speak. When you say about a remodel of the cabin, they're going to shake their head at you. What you say is, how do I restore the cabin? It's a different term that they understand. And so it's these little things of how to, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, during that picture, you'll if you put the slide back, you don't have to, but you'll see a boat. A boat came in during that. That's not the picture. There's the first one. A boat came in, and so it was like an offset dinghy from a ship or something. And so we have a boat that we got during that. It came in, but anything that wasn't concrete of the fire started floating out into the bay, and I was out there getting all of it back. And so that we can't control, and we can't control the tide, but what we can do is go, what can we do? And then when we have an okay of what we can do, that's when I'll know this is what it's going to take. And that's the idea, is what can we do? Because we want to save them. It's amazing. Yeah. This is what we're approved to do. Because that I have the time, because that's part of me being there, is to go person by person. And the way it works now because of COVID, which is really good, is you contact the county and you say, I want to do something. And they say, cool, who do you want us to put on your plan? And I say, bring them all. Bring the biologist, bring the arborist, bring the fire inspector, bring the planning inspector, bring the city inspector, bring them all, and then you pay per person. But then that gets applied to your permit fee. And you do a Zoom meeting. And you go, what can I do? And so each person says, I require this, I require this, I require this, and then we take all that information and then we compile a plan, we make a plan, then we submit that plan back with everything that they all want. And then we'll have a plan. And that's what you do. And you make every single inspector happy because there's a lot of them. It's a lot of time. And you got to know how to deal with inspectors. And contractors and everything else. And sometimes that's you sitting down at City Hall talking to people face to face for hours. And that's okay. I have the time to do that. That's one of the reasons why I love being there is I have that time. I get both groups together. That's what I do. I get both groups together. So we all come up with what can be done.
I see what you're saying. Literally that meeting, the professional meeting, all of those people come together. So there is no...
Yeah, that's what that meeting is you get everyone together. And that way when, one person says, yeah, you can pour concrete, the biologist goes, no, you can't because of the mollusks and the clam. And so they all kind of hem and haw about and then at the end, you get your final product of what you can do. And you work together. You work with them. And, to me, I look at it like Christ. Christ never said, go against Caesar. He said, give unto Caesar what's Caesar's. If the county wants things, let's give it to them the way they want it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like we can go the extra mile. It's what we're called to do anyways. It may not be give someone a shirt or it may not be carry their pack for them, but we're called to go the extra mile. And that's what I want to do. I want Delano to go the extra mile so the next time as we move forward, when we call for a permit, they go, y'all are good. We know what y'all are going to do. It's going to be done right. It's going to be done to code. We trust what's happening out there. And that's what we should be. Especially as a Christian organization. They should absolutely trust what we're doing.
How frequently do you get to talk to the same person from the same department?
Right now, it's the same people. It's like specific individuals that you're working with. Because what it is now is like you get even though your permit isn't approved, you get a permit number as it's getting kind of worked through the system. Think of it like a corkscrew as it works through. So you're assigned this person, this person, this person. And so you're assigned a specific person, not just a department, which is helpful. That way you're communicating with one person. So one thing we've had since I got there, when I first got there, I said, how do we get internet at the lodge? Because once the internet's there, we can put in a security system. And they said, getting internet at the lodge is like $10,000. And I said, maybe 10 years ago, but not in this day and age. Let me look into it. And it ended up costing us $100. And now I have fast internet at the lodge. And not only that, because I have internet at the lodge, I've put extenders down at the cabins, and the cabins have Wi-Fi now. Like streamable Wi-Fi are in the cabins. And so it's a lot of things in the past that became like law, like, we can't have internet, it's $10,000. Yeah, maybe 10, 15 years ago it was. But those questions have to be re-looked at almost every year because things are changing. And so when we get internet there's going to be a full security system. And not like we're not just buying something from Costco to put a couple cameras up. Like it's going to be like Simply Safe. It's going to be a professional system that's monitored. First of all, the insurance is going to require it. Anytime you have a big insurance claim, what they want more than anything is a plan of action. How do we not shell out $1 million again? That's their question to you. And so you answer that with, this is the steps we're going to be doing. The great thing about that is I can monitor it from my phone. So it dings if the kitchen is opened and I'm in the house and I can go, why is the kitchen open? It's simple stuff like that that's going to make it a lot more user-friendly, for one, with the internet and being able to do things with that in the lodge, but also from security standpoint. And it happened, I don't know if you know, Charlotte and Greg were phasing out, and so they were moving back to Port Orchard, so they weren't at the house as often, and we were coming in but we weren't there yet. And it happened in that time when they weren't seeing cars there often enough as what needs to be there. One asset that I didn't put there, which is an asset, is we have a camp truck now. And so that camp truck is always there. You know, unless I'm out doing work with the camp truck, and if I am, then my car is there. So it's always, there's a car there, they see people there, and we're pretty active out at the camp. Yeah, like I don't have another job. I know sometimes in the past caretakers had part-time jobs elsewhere. This is my full-time job. Because to me, work is worship. Work is service. I'm a missionary here, and so that's what I'm here to do. I mean, you drive on property right now, we get a lot of people trying to harvest the tidelands. I'm out there with the golf cart going, no, no, no. But welcome. You should look at our website and rent to come out. You know, you'd be surprised at, you know, do you know who Jesus is? How that goes across with people trying to harvest your clams. But it's my full-time job. And so that I think keeps a lot more people off the area. I know there's a lot, some of y'all may know, and Kenny, you probably know, there's a lot of issue with like land easement with public access, and there's like, it's a whole big mess. And you could pull up 3 different things online and see 3 different answers about it. Ultimately, every time someone comes on the property that's not supposed to, I go, okay, what would Jesus do? I grew up in that generation, still a good mantra. What would Jesus do? How does he handle this situation? And so that's what I go in with. And so far, I haven't had any confrontations. I'm friendly with the neighbors. And so it's right now it's working well, but we'll see as summer comes along how it goes.
Do you have a projected timeline? I'll say projected, I mean, 2 years, 1 year on the renovation of the lot.
Well, I mean, I don't have a projected timeline, but we were supposed to have it done by camp this summer. We still don't know yet. If you've looked at our website, we're supposed to make a decision on May 7th, depending on where our permit process is. We technically don't have a permit yet. That we're still in the get changes done, oh, we want this done, is where it's kind of bogged in right now. And originally the contractor said, oh, it'll be done in April. And the board was optimistic, and I said, guys, it's not going to be done in April. You got to know that, like, he can't determine that. No contractor can ever say, till he has a permit in hand, how long something's going to take. I can't give a timeline until we actually have a permit. And we don't have a permit yet. And sometimes people get into permits for 6 months, sometimes a year. It just all depends. But we have a letter of hardship in that the board sent in saying, our business is a camp. We need to operate as a camp. And we can't operate as a camp without our lodge. And so we've sent in a hardship that kind of bumps us up into a higher tier that they look at to review more often. And so prayer is a good way to start. And then if, you know, a lot of people say, oh, I have a friend at the city hall, maybe they can look into it. Anything right now would help, to help just get it looked at. We're not looking to get around anything. We're not looking to get something passed that we're not supposed to. We will gladly do anything the county wants, just to prove it so we can get it done. Tell us what you want, we'll put it in. Even if it's redundant, we'll put it in. We talked to Cindy. Some of y'all might know Cindy. She's a caterer. She deals with this a lot. You still have to have the Department of Health approve you, even with a food truck, because you're coming onto the property. We've talked about some different things, but it's not just that. Those rooms are needed. A place where the kids can worship and be is needed. So it's kind of, she said, yeah, and you deal with this issue that there are bathrooms there, so you'd have to, you can't have food within certain distances. There's a lot. So the board kind of was like, whoa, because you'd lose your basketball court because you'd have to put a big tent there, and like it would kind of snowball into, really running in, I'm probably going to say this wrong, the red, that's not good, right? The red. You would really run into the red if you tried to use a lot of outside things to make camp happen. So that's why they're going to make a determination by May 7th. Now, we're still praying that that permit comes in and the work can get done before the first week, which is STS. But those days are going by.
Yeah, I don't know how many people know, but just speaking from experience, getting the permit isn't necessarily one of your biggest challenges. Getting your certificate of occupancy is your biggest challenge. You can have your permit in hand, you can get the work done, you can be having the work done, you can get the work completed, and if you don't have a certificate of occupancy, you can't legally have anybody on site. There are versions of it that will be an allowance to give you a temporary pass, but it took us, at least I think it took us 4 to 5 months to get the certificate of occupancy here after the work was done.
That's right.
We're ready to go,
Yeah.
and we had to wait another 4 to 5 months to legally have somebody in space.
Yeah. And speaking of the certificate of occupancy is huge because what happened is it was listed under as a repair because it was flooded, which means you retain your CO. But when we put in what it was, they said, hold on, this parcel piece is not listed as a commercial kitchen and a residence. And they looked on our website and it said we have a commercial kitchen and then it's also a residence underneath, like for people that can stay. And they say, wait. Because of that, your CO goes away. And, we're at time, sorry. So our CO has been taken from the lodge and that we do have to get the CO back. And so it's a lot. So prayers right now is what we need. But I'm out of time. Can we close in a prayer? And then, Heavenly Father, Lord, just thank you so much for this opportunity, Lord. Thank you that Lakeview has brought me and my family here today so we can continue to further your mission, Lord, because this is what this is about. Lord, thank you for the hearts of everyone here that care so much about the camp and the mission that it does and the lives that it can touch, both as the youth and as the adults that work there. Lord, thank you for Lakeview and their just decades of service to this community and to Delano. Lord, be with us today as we get to come to you, we get to sing and worship with you. Lord, thank you for being in our presence today. Lord, be with us through these challenges that we know that you shine brightest when it's darkest, Lord, that we continue to lean on you for your wisdom and your understanding in this time. Lord, again, just thank you for all the blessings you give us, both those that we see and those that we don't. And it's in your Holy Son's name, amen.